Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the All Things NBA from A to Z podcast, presented as always by Ball is Life. I'm KP, Kris Pursiainen, excited, ready, ecstatic, shivering with excitement at the opportunity to start talking about the 2026 NBA season. We got Zach and Al here on the show today. The boys are back. The boys are back in town. And we're going to be talking about every single NBA team going into the 2026 season. Now, the three of us sat and decided on some categories that we would try and sort every NBA team into. Because every year in sports, there are 29 teams that finish the season disappointed. Every year in the National Basketball Association, there are 29 teams that don't win the championship. Are every single one of those teams genuinely upset that they didn't win? Are the Portland Trailblazers going to be truly upset when they don't win the championship this year? Are the Charlotte Hornets? So we wanted to talk about what every team's goals are for the 2026 season. Because if you're the Brooklyn Nets, you don't want to hear about how your team's not going to win. You want to hear about how if you're a Nets fan, your team losing is going to help you long term. You want to hear about why this season is about to happen the way it is and how you can root for the things that will determine the most long-term success for your franchise. Guys, we split into three categories. Number one, the contenders, the cream of the crop, the clear-cut winners. Number two, the middle of the pack, but they're not mid-pack. These are the middle of the pack teams that are feisty, gritty, talented, dare I say good at basketball, but we think they're going to be in a buying situation, maybe a need to buy, maybe a should buy situation by the trade deadline or even before then in the case of some squads. And for today's episode, we're going to get right into it. It's the middle of the pack, but should sell teams, the teams that have a little too much talent to tank and should do something about it, and the teams that should just from game one look at how they can make the first three quarters as competitive as possible and let whatever happens happen from there because they don't mind losing. Guys, we'll skip the pleasantries. We'll skip the catching up. It's the off season. Everyone's been busy. Not everyone can be Al going viral on TikTok, but people are busy here in the off season. Let's get right to the basketball talk. Guys, when I say tankers, when I say teams that should just be tanking, who do you think of? What teams come to mind first? I think I made mine clear.
Go, Zach.
Washington, Utah, and Brooklyn for sure. Those are the three clear, easy picks for me. I mean, there's maybe some debates. But
it's interesting.
Yeah,
I get a different feeling from Washington than those other two teams. Those other two teams, I feel like, are very firmly in a state of we need to figure out if we have good young talent, and then if we do, how to build a team around them. I feel like Washington both believes more in the young talent they have, but whether it's Sar, Bub, Trey J, Keyshawn George, like whoever it is, right? But they're also actively trying to build a competitive team around them. This is a team that went out and acquired Marcus Smart and Chris Middleton. Of course, Smart now on the other side of the country, but this Wizards team isn't like a complete joke. They're just going to be worse than everyone else, if that makes sense. Like they're not going to be bad because they tried to be good.
I just don't think those two players are floor raisers.
No, I
just don't think those two guys are floor raisers.
And when you have Sar, who plays such like an integral position defensively, and you're not sure if he's a full-time rim protector yet, can he hold up physically like that over the course of a season playing 5 full-time? Like there are questions that they can answer over time that they can use their development for. So I do get a different feeling about Washington. That's also probably because I just really like their front office. I think them, Charlotte, and Atlanta have like three of the best young up-and-coming front offices across the NBA landscape right now. Ansi Saleh and what he's doing in Atlanta. You know, the Charlotte group made a lottery pick last year that kind of furrowed people's eyebrows, but I do think their process overall has been really strong. But yeah, right. We all like Washington, Brooklyn, Utah are firmly in this group. And there's
You
really
also
no.
like Washington's young talent way more than I do.
I get that. I really like Bub Carrington. I'm high on Trey Johnson. You know, I think I would have just had him fourth in this draft class, or yeah, fourth or third if I could do it again. I think I did have him fourth, and I wish I had him third, something like that. He's really legit, man, and this kid's a hard worker. Everything you hear about him, intel wise, is really strong with Trey Johnson. Um, I I think Utah is a bit more similar to Washington than Brooklyn is, in the sense of like they have Lauri Markkanen, and things like that, but it's not leading to winning. So it's tough, right? But the goal for these teams should be not just to lose as many games as possible, but to figure out what they have in their young players, because whether they think they know or not, they really don't. The NBA landscape really doesn't. We don't know what these guys are. You know, the Washington Wizards, maybe another goal for them should be not consolidating, but like picking between their young talent. They've got so many young players that play the exact same position on their roster. I mean, I was at Summer League and I watched the Wizards play a game, and it took until there were about 5 minutes left in the second quarter for the Wizards to put someone into the game who had not been drafted in the last two NBA drafts.
Yeah.
They have a lot of very young talent. Some teams go to Summer League, they're putting 26-year-old, 27-year-old players out there, seeing, can you fit in the flow of an offense? The Wizards are playing 24 and under, 23 and under ball, and just seeing what these kids are. I get it. But if everyone is out there just trying to fight for their own, I do think you end up getting a bit of a G League type environment where people are more concerned about, am I showing professional teams what I need to show them, than they are, am I helping win? And that's an interesting discussion in and of itself. Are these tanking teams, these clear tankers, essentially becoming the G League of the NBA, right? You know, you have really skilled players like Tyson Etienne who can shoot the ball out the gym, sticking with a team like Brooklyn because they need a shooter. They need someone for all these, what, 5 young guys they just drafted? 4 of them aren't shooters. Like, they need someone to help these guys be on a team that makes threes. That's also why they were fine getting Michael Porter Jr. back in the Cam Johnson trade. Like, I'm curious to see what happens with just how good these young players look, because I want to see how bad these teams are willing to be to find out how good these guys are. And then with Brooklyn, there's Cam Thomas, who we haven't even mentioned, but that feels like a big looming question. Really, really quick, guys. If you're Brooklyn, would you just pay up and try and keep him around, or are you so against having what you would see as a negative value contract on the books that you're willing to let him walk before you pay him more than what you think he's worth?
So for me, when it comes to Cam Thomas, I mean, I like him as a player, guys, and don't hate me for this, but I don't think he's a winning player on a championship caliber team. I think until he shows me otherwise. He's still very young, obviously, right? So he still has a lot of growing to do and a lot of development to do. But as of right now and what I've seen so far in his career in the NBA, I think he's a great scorer. He's a bucket getter, and he could be valuable for any team in need of points. But can he make sacrifices? Can he make the winning defensive plays? Can he, D up the other guy to actually, play playoff basketball? Those are question marks I have with Cam Thomas. Brooklyn, I mean, the roster construction is really strange. We talked about the dynamic at Washington, how they basically only have 3 or 4 veterans, right? CJ McCollum, Chris Middleton, Kispert, Rashawn Holmes, and then everybody else is like 25 and below, like Kris mentioned. And a ton of those are like 20, 21-year-olds, including Cam Whitmore, right, that they traded for. So the fact that they have a lot of pieces playing the same position is very interesting. And I dovetail that into Brooklyn. The fact that they used all 4 first-round draft picks, and I feel like if you were just to look at all 4 players, sure, there's nuances and there's subtle differences, but there's a lot of overlap, in all 4 of those players. And it's very interesting that they decided to use all 4 picks, and they're deciding to move forward with all 4 first rounders. And the issue is, they're trying to find, like a gem in the rough, or they're throwing paint at a wall and seeing what sticks. But that also is that might be a detriment to how these players develop. Like if all 4 of these first rounders were on different teams and they were getting the opportunities to develop the way that they're supposed to develop, everybody, gets better at different rates and different times. Who knows? Like their career arcs would be really different. Whereas with these 4 on Brooklyn, I just don't know how it's going to work out. And Brooklyn, for me, is definitely a team that needs consolidation, not only from the vets, but also for the young guys.
No, I'm with you, Al. I think Brooklyn and Washington are in similar places, but you definitely mentioned the subtle differences there. I would say one mention of Brooklyn, Cam Thomas is definitely closer to a Jordan Poole type than he is Devin Booker, and that's not good. I wouldn't be shelling out a big contract to him anytime soon, but I still have hope, and I still think peak Cam Thomas is better than peak Jordan Poole. Don't get me wrong. I like Cam Thomas as a player, but he hasn't had the best situation yet either. So it's hard to judge that guy as well. With that said,
it's like Jordan Poole just helped the Warriors win a championship coming off the bench. You know what I mean? Like I feel like Cam Thomas, right, the losing player, the not a winner label is more of circumstance than anything else. Now listen, there's agency in this, because when Cam is coming out and not saying, but when reports are coming out, Nets Daily did some reporting the other day that he's looking for $30 million a year, in the ballpark of 40. He looks at Jalen Green, fair. He looks at Emmanuel Quickley, kind of not fair, but with Quickley's injuries, I guess I get it. And he looks at Tyler Hero, not fair, all-star, as guys that should determine his market. So I can see him wanting to make the 33 a year that Jalen does, but 40, it feels like, again, go get your money. Like we're not sitting here being like players shouldn't want to be paid what they think they're worth. We're just saying, for an NBA landscape that is so clearly willing to let Cam Thomas wiggle and squirm his way into a qualifying offer because he wants to be paid what he's worth, he is not helping himself by demanding a certain compensation. Like, no one was saying last year that Gary Trent Jr. only signing for a minimum was like some huge crime. You had some nerd podcasts and blogs.
I was kind of against that, but yeah.
But you didn't write a soliloquy about how like the middle class of the NBA is dying, and like, well, yeah, like we know that, but not every free agency is a referendum on that. I do feel like we've lost the plot a little bit. You have fans that watch someone like Jalen Brunson take a pay cut, which is really just getting as much money as he can a year earlier. But who knows? Maybe by investing it in that year, he might end up with more money than he would have wound up with waiting a year to sign. Like, who knows, right? The point is that got frowned upon because it's like, oh, we're encouraging capitalistic owners to, penny pinch and all these things. And it's like, okay, now a player wants to go get paid what they're worth. They don't want to take a pay cut. And everyone's like, you selfish bastard. Like, whoa, we got to pick one, guys. Like, we got to pick one. So I don't know. I think people are just kind of quick to just hate on the athlete because it's easy. Rooting for Cam. Hope I get shocked by a Shams notification. But I also do understand from team's perspective how they're thinking about, oh, this guy thinks he's worth more than everyone else thinks he's worth. I think he's worth something, but he's not worth that. So I'm going to teach him a lesson and treat him like he's worth nothing. I know a guy who could bust down his AP with some perfect timing, just threw some touchdown passes, that probably had a similar experience just a couple months ago with, hey, I'm better than teams think I am, but teams think I'm better than I think I am and are humbling me as a result. I see Shador Cam parallels here.
Whoa, I wasn't expecting that last part there. Now you're fucking me up a little bit. But I will say your rant there and money-wise reminded me a little bit about society, and the NBA pay structure is kind of looking that way, where it's becoming where the middle class used to be just so big, and now the middle class is moving down to the lower class. in society for money wise. You know what I'm saying? Where the upper class is just separating themselves even more, and that's what's happening in the NBA right now.
CJ McCollum saying, "Oh, teams shouldn't be penalized for drafting well." Bro, what do you mean you don't like Subway? You made the sandwich. Like, what do you mean? Like,
oh my God, dude. No, but like the best players are making way more now than ever, and the middle class players aren't making what they used to. I feel like with this new bargaining agreement. I don't probably might play its way out over the next couple of years, but at this very moment, I just feel like the middle class players aren't earning what they did a couple of years ago. Am I off on that?
I think when we're talking about upper, middle, and lower class from an NBA player perspective, right? I think that the fact that there's a cap is the reason for that, because the really, really high end top players are actually underpaid. I know they're getting 50 mil a year, 60 mil a year, and it sounds like it's absurd, right? But because they're capped, right? The fact that the best players in the world are getting capped, that's why you see players ranked 25 through 50 getting the same. And so that's why that there's a gap between the middle class, because those players, the players that are in 25 to 50 getting 45 mil a year, that's where they should be. Whereas the upper class should be getting 80, 90, 100 million a year. So I hate to say it, and fans will hate that because, like, oh my gosh, these players are so entitled. They're already making $100 million a year, but they're bringing in so much business, and it's more than just the basketball on the court. And we're talking guys like Steph Curry and LeBron James and those people that are just box office type players, and they deserve more than what the cap maximum is.
I also think there's something to, like, what other league... In what other league do we have like an unwritten agreement where if you're not a star, but you're close enough to being one and you're young, you're just going to get paid like you are one of the best players in the league? Like NBA fans have conflated potential with production. I can't blame NBA fans for that because they are watching every year, every month, every free agency, a system that squeezes out talent. You either are a top 60 guy in the league, so you're getting paid like top 20, or you're a bottom 200 guy in the league, which is half the league, and you're getting a minimum contract. So, like, the evaporation of the NBA's middle class is super interesting, and it's part of why this discussion from a team standpoint is so important, because these teams that we're seeing as clear tankers, like, this is where guys like Malik Monk or Lonnie Walker or, these different players, where they go to try and stake their claim to a full-time job, to a real contract, to a payday, to escape the minimum contract cycle. Like, in baseball, there's a $15 million a year pitcher, a $20 million a year pitcher, a $25 million a year pitcher, and a $40 million a year pitcher. I bet each of those guys are playing more or less up to those deals on average, right? But in basketball, you either give a guy 10 or 50. And if he's worth 35, then you better pay him 50, unless so many teams have paid guys worth 35, 50, that now you're worth 35 and no one can afford to give you more than 10. It is a fascinating problem that the NBA has on its hands right now. And the fact that we can start out a podcast saying, hey, these three teams are not going to try and win this season, and everyone knows it. I'm curious of the role that plays. Like, are we devaluing production selectively? Are we saying, oh, well, Devin Booker was bad on the Suns when the Suns were bad, but that wasn't Booker's fault. Cam Thomas was bad with the Suns and with the Nets when the Nets were bad, but that is Cam Thomas's fault. So is shot creation less valuable than ever? I think so. Are intangibles more valuable than ever? Maybe not, but maybe we're lined up with like the 80s now with regard to that. I can't think of, like, we talk about teams that should be tanking, and we can get back to the list here. Like, on top of Brooklyn, Utah, Washington, me personally, like, I know what they did this offseason. Doesn't really matter to me. The Pelicans stand out as a team to me on this list. Like, the Pelicans should be a team that are definitely in this middle but should sell or tanking group. I'm really easily putting the Pelicans in here because there's nothing going on that's going to work. And I don't think it's the fault of the individual players. I think the biggest loser of draft night was Derek Queen, because for the rest of his career, he's going to have hanging over him that the New Orleans Pelicans are dumb. That is not fair to him, but it will affect his game. It will affect his career. It will affect how teams guard him. It's up to him now to prove that it doesn't matter to him. Personally, as someone who knows someone that's coached Derek Queen for like, I think he will do it. He's a tough cookie. But that's adversity that he has to face. And listen, man, like the Pelicans firmly in this list for me. The Chicago Bulls firmly in this list.
Firmly.
These are two teams that, if they have anything that teams want at the deadline, they should just trade it away. Because, and I don't want to stoop to the level of like, you don't even deserve to have a good player. Your team's so bad. Actually, little Timmy that's 9 years old and who shows up every Wednesday to watch his favorite team play does deserve to have a good player. You know what I mean? Like, fans deserve talent. Fans deserve winning teams. Fans deserve, every fan deserves this. The point is, these teams like Chicago and New Orleans that are clearly not acting like teams like Brooklyn or Utah, but have the rosters where they should. Is this like the biggest disservice in sports, is pretending to be good? I feel like this team is this group of teams, like I just want to obliterate them. Like Portland is too good to be in this group, right? Toronto, are they too good to be in this group? I'd sell by the deadline if I were them. I'm putting them here too, man. Because unless Emmanuel Quickly, my guy, has a really great season and helps raise the floor of what they can do as a team so that Scotty Barnes' development can raise the ceiling, I don't see a situation where people on this plane are not reaching for their masks by January. I think it's heading straight down. I don't see the basketball fit with Brandon Ingram, RJ Barrett, Scotty Barnes, Jakob Poeltl, Emmanuel Quickly. I don't see it. So Chicago, Toronto, Pelicans, 3 more teams I'm throwing at y'all. What do we got?
So real quick, the one thing I want to say that's different about the Pelicans versus Brooklyn and Washington is the Pelicans have been able to draft higher picks, and they've hit on them kind of. They just haven't exactly been healthy and able to play out the way they want. But there's more upside on their roster currently, in my opinion, where Washington and Brooklyn, they haven't even had a top pick that they haven't been able to draft many of them, nor have they hit on any of them. So it's tough when you're always in that 8 to 15 lottery, the mid to back end of the lottery versus the top end. You got to find a way to get to the top.
Is crashing to the bottom the fastest way for a team like New Orleans?
Probably.
Because I'm telling you right now, it takes one. And talk about stocks being worth what the market's willing to value them at. It takes one photo from 2021. I could go right now, grab a photo from 2021 of Zion Williamson sitting outside an IHOP. All right. And I can put a caption on that saying August 11th, 2025. And people are going to be like, bet the Pelicans under. Like, everyone is just looking for a reason to be out on this team. I think the inherent fear that Zion is going to be the prince that was promised, and these pieces around him are going to help him figure things out, makes people pause. Because I watched this guy as a sophomore average 27-5. Like, you can't laugh at 27 points a game as a sophomore, right? That's not funny. That's terrifying. But listen, man, they got enough young players that they should be interested in, like a Derek Queen and like Zach's guy. I know he likes Jeremiah Fears. And I enjoyed watching him at Summer League. Tough kid. You should want to see what these kids are, and you should want to figure out how you can best serve them long-term with their development, because that's how you become the best team you can be. Having 2 lottery picks pay off is going to get you a lot closer to winning than, oh, well, if you look back, we actually did win the DeJounte Murray trade. Well, yeah, get over it.
The thing that people don't talk about in terms of how do we improve as fast as we can, right? I think bottoming out is the easiest. I mean, it's the most painful, But the thing is, the thing that people don't realize, it requires a really smart front office. Just because you bottom out and you get picks and you get all this draft capital, let's say you move Zion for a few first-round picks, like you have this treasure trove, right? That's a buzzword in NBA, treasure trove of all this draft assets. Well, if you don't know how to leverage that into better players or better roster construction, that doesn't mean you have to draft. That doesn't mean, like there's several ways of going at it. And the problem with the NBA, and I think the NBA is more so with this than any other league, any other American sports league, team sports league, is there's just like a big gap between a front office that knows what they're doing and then a front office that doesn't. And it's just so glaring, right? Because if you put Zion Williamson, who, justified the number one consensus pick coming out that season. And honestly, if he were to get drafted again, he'll be number one again. He's that special of a talent. But the team just didn't know how to develop him. Obviously, you have the weight issues, the injury issues, and all that. But if he was put into a system or infrastructure that did know how to do it, right? I'm talking about the Golden States, the Bostons, the teams that are always contending, the OKCs, right? Like his career trajectory would have been completely different. So the thing that we talk about and we miss oftentimes is, yes, the fastest way is to bottom out. You don't want to be in the wheel of mediocrity, but bottoming out also requires someone to actually know how to get out of that mess, right? And I don't think New Orleans has those people. I don't think the majority of the league have those people, and that's the issue.
Listen, man, it's all about that search for a top guy. And even if you get them, there's no guarantee that you're going to make the most of having them. I mean, how many years did the Mavericks spend like telling Luka Doncic and Jalen Brunson to give Kristaps Porzingis his post-up touches to keep him happy? Like, that's not Kristaps' fault. Every player should want their touches. Every player should want.
You can even go even further back. Like, they won a title in 2011 with Dirk, and they were basically middle of the pack for a decade before they drafted Luka. Like, they were saved by this, transcendent star at the time in 2018. It took them 7 years, right, to actually get back into like NBA conversations, and that's coming off an NBA title run. So even, a team that won in 2011, they didn't know how to continue winning or B, build from the bottom up, right? We can get into the details later, maybe in a different podcast, but the Dallas Mavericks, I don't have, high confidence. Obviously, it's a completely different regime now than it was back in the 2010s. But until we see that they can build a team, and hopefully with, Cooper Flag landing on their lap out of nowhere is going to help expedite that. But again, we don't know.
Zach, Mavericks, should they sell by the deadline? Make the most of a year without Kyrie? Or is getting Flag locked in to a system that he can play winning basketball in, is just seeing what he's got? Should Dallas just try and be as good as possible? Because I want to put them in the middle but should buy group, but I don't actually think they should buy. I think they should just kind of stay as is, if that makes sense. Like Najee Marshall, if some team calls you up at the deadline,
I'm with you. It's a really hard decision.
If a team calls you up at the deadline and offers one single protected first-round pick and 2 second-round picks for Najee Marshall, and you're Dallas, you got to think about it, right?
Oh, absolutely.
That's a hefty offer. So then you can't tell your fan base you're doing everything you can to win because you just traded a guy away for no players back or some middle schoolers back. Right?
It all depends if you're trying to win right now or win by next.
My point is, what is their goal internally? Because I think it should be to sell a little teensy bit at the deadline and trust that, especially in an NBA where teams are always trying to move talent because it doesn't fit under their new cap. I would just trust that you can get good players later, even if that sounds asinine. I'd put Dallas in this episode. I'd put the Mavericks in this episode in this third group.
I lean that way, yeah, but I would just see how good Cooper and Anthony Davis are right off the bat. I mean, maybe Klay Thompson's got a Megan Thee Stallion pop in him, like he just got a little glove in the air, and just like something crazy could happen. There's talent on this team where who knows, maybe Kyrie comes back before the playoffs, man. Look at Derrick Rose, tried all those years. I'm not saying that was a good thing, but like it could happen. I'm not ruling Kyrie out for the play. Like this team could be a 3 or 4 seed and they're hovering around, they're hanging around, and Kyrie's healthy. Look at Kawhi at times, and showing his peak form come playoff time for just that glimpse. Even if it didn't work out, I'm just saying Kyrie has been said to be ahead of schedule right now. I'm not banking on it, but I'm not making that decision yet either. There's still enough talent on this team to try to win.
I hear you. Al, resident Maverick.
Yeah, I mean, I think the move for D'Angelo Russell, it was a sneaky good move that will keep them afloat until Kyrie comes back. I think, the fact that he's already played with AD, the fact that he's already played with Max Christie, Jason Kidd was a assistant coach for the Lakers when D'Lo was there. So there's a lot of overlap there, which is great. A lot of comfort. To go back on Najee is one of those players I'm like sneaky high on, and I think he's underrated when it comes to NBA landscape. But yeah, you take that deal every single time. And I think from a PR perspective, like when Nico gets on the mic, what he's going to say is, well, we have Kyrie Irving coming back. Like that's going to be their big move, right? At the deadline or around playoff push time is, yeah, we didn't make a move. We may have lost a player, but we're gaining this, all-star back and this, all-time player performer back. The thing is, like, I'm a big Kyrie guy, but I don't know, and we'll get into this in another podcast because I think it deserves it. But I don't know if he's going to come back and be as good as he once was. Like, let's be honest, he's on the wrong side of 30.
Yeah, you can be right.
He was actually more athletic, in his 30s than he was in his 20s. He'll tell you that. Like he was dunking, he's finishing alley-oops. Like he was incredible, right, during the 2-year run with Luka. He had so many miles on his legs. He got hurt, obviously, and that's not the reason why. It was just, just unfortunate. But how often do we expect someone that's, I don't know, what is he, like 33 to come back from a serious injury to be as good as he was before? It's a lot to ask. And this team is going to be injury prone just because we have Anthony Davis now as the face of the franchise. Klay Thompson is, on the wrong side of 35. It's a very old team that's really going to depend on half court execution and not athleticism anymore. And when a team is not athletic, it's really hard to win.
100%. Guys, Dallas, I think I'm willing to agree that we should wait and see with Kyrie rhyming accidentally. That was purposefully at that point, but whatever. Any quick hitters for the tanking teams? Because the Sacramento Kings, what the hell?
Yes.
Sacramento Kings, what the hell are we doing? The Charlotte Hornets are a team that I feel may be able to benefit from buying at the deadline more than a team like the Kings would, because at least they're in a conference where they could sleepwalk ass backwards into the play-in. The Sacramento Kings have chosen the toughest conference in basketball at a time where the 4th through 11th seeds are separated by a game at a time to be the 12th best team in the West. Like, this is sad. I don't know what their fans should be excited about besides Devin Carter and Maxime Reynaud and Nick Clifford. These are really exciting young players.
The Kings are paying Zach LaVine $50 million. They're paying Sabonis $45 million, and they're paying DeRozan $25 million. What a way!
These are all really good players.
These
are all really good players. All three of those guys are really good players, but they have picked from the damn max contract pile instead of the, is he underpaid at $70 million a year max contract pile? And I'm not saying that these were conscious choices they made. Like, it's not like they woke up and said, you know what, who cares if De'Aaron wants out if we fire Mike Brown? We're going to fire him and trade De'Aaron for Zach LaVine. Oh, they did do that. They did that. They did that on purpose.
Yeah. What a team. What a team! Someone should write a book about.
I love their young talent. I think Sabonis. We don't talk about Keegan Murray. Nobody. I forgot Keegan Murray.
You are talking way too highly of this young talent.
Nobody talks about Keegan Murray is really good, and I think he's underrated today. Yeah, will be in December and February.
Nick Clifford is the only guy you mentioned decent.
Listen, here's my point.
I just think you're talking way too high of these dudes.
If all of the young talent on the Kings pans out, they still wouldn't win the play-in.
There's still
that's tough.
All right.
That's tough, man.
I'll give you
that. So I think they should sell and tank and just like fart their way through the season. Go get a top pick and go talk to me in July, because like you're doing your fans a disservice by putting that team out there every night, and you're doing the individual guys a disservice. You're doing Zach LaVine a disservice by telling him, hey, if you're a superstar, this team can be good, so go figure it out, man. Or telling Domantas Sabonis, oh, well, actually, we haven't provided any defensive insulation for you besides Keegan, but that's fine, right? You can be our point guard and then also our defensive anchor. You have the stamina for that, right? So totally, dude, you can just be Shohei. Like, what? I don't know. I think it's tough with this Sacramento team. There are a couple others that are quick hitters, in my opinion. Like, I think the Philadelphia 76ers are a quick hitter in this group as well. I think it is better off to bet on this not working, because here's how you know it's better off. They won't do it because they can't do it, because no one will trade for George or Embiid. If I'm them, I weaponize the periods of time during which George and Embiid are under contract. I turn back that clock, man. I'm calling Sammy H. I'm turning back that clock. I'm dialing 1-800-HINKY. And I'm saying, let's be ass for 3 years. What could happen? What's the worst that could happen?
That is the true full circle of Joel Embiid. Nickname as the process to start his career, and then he's going to kick off the new process.
Tell me I'm not a poet, man.
I fully agree with you on the Sixers. They definitely need a clean house somehow. It's really hard. You mentioned, those two guys, and Paul George and Embiid, no one's going to trade for, but this is the NBA. The most untradeable contracts somehow get traded. And so I wouldn't rule those out. Embiid is still just 2 years removed from his MVP year. Paul George, we can't really get into PG much, but like, I fully agree with you that this is a team that's going to be in the middle, that's going to think that they are better than they really are.
I'm assuming they get Grimes back. Like, I'm assuming, because then if you have Maxey and Grimes and McCain and Edgecombe, you are literally looking at backcourt versus frontcourt. Backcourt, young, talented, fiery, exciting, synergetic and connective, and then the front court
even without Grimes,
for how many games a year they're playing? How many games a year?
I think even without Grimes, Chris, I think they just need to move forward with Edgecombe, McCain, and Maxey. That's the three, and then
I'm willing to go as far as to say I would if there's a team that calls up and says we will take both George and Embiid, we will take those contracts, but you also have to give us Tyrese Maxey. Like, if the basketball gods came down and said to the 76ers, if you sacrifice Maxey, we will clear George and Embiid off the books. In the era of the second apron, I'm hitting that button. Who's
taking $150 million back in one trade?
It's the basketball gods, man. I'm telling you. I'm saying, if the basketball gods came down and said, we will let you salary dump Embiid and George, and you won't have to give up any firsts, someone will just take them. Chicago will just take Joel, right? And I don't know, Charlotte.
Minnesota, take them. You got to take back Gobert.
Charlotte will just take Paul George, something like that, right? But they'd also have to sacrifice Maxey at the altar of Dr. Naismith to be able to clear that cap. I would do it. I think that's how bad their situation is in this second apron era.
I know this is not the conversation
live on camera. Anyway,
I know this is not the conversation of today's podcast, but I would argue, and again, agree or disagree with me, I would argue the Sixers have the worst like situation in the NBA right now.
Go watch the last episode. Go
I
watch
know.
2 episodes ago on this podcast where I spoke at length with Trill Bro Dude of the You Know Ball Show, talked about what the hell is going on in Philadelphia. And it is fascinating to get his perspective on it. I'm going to self-promote right now. Go check out that episode right here on All Things NBA.
The city is very lucky because they have, the Super Bowl champions in the Eagles. They have a contending team in the Phillies. But that basketball team, and Zach, I would love to hear your thoughts. That basketball team is in total disarray right now.
I understand where you're coming from and the argument at stake, but it's not even a question between these guys and the Washington Wizards for me or the Utah Jazz. I like preying on a Joel Embiid resurgence. I just like Edgecombe and Maxey so much yet, and McCain was great. Like,
yes,
they
so
have
you should
young
want
hope.
the team to invest in them.
Give me this team over the Miami Heat.
The Heat should buy, right? That's a spoiler, but we agree that they're not in this episode. Should they buy?
If you were Miami?
This team would fall in the middle of the pack for me in that conversation.
Zach, Miami has Norm Powell, though.
Yeah.
Are you weighing? You weighing the impact of Nasty Norm? Nasty
don't
Norm.
forget about Norm.
Nasty Norm. Regular season Norm is another level. That's going to be the best backcourt in the last 20 years, him and Tyler.
In the state of Florida or in
the new Splash Bros.
Yeah, like Chalmers is cold.
2.0 boys.
All right. Listen, any other teams that we think are in here? Like, do you guys have the Phoenix Suns in a they should sell mode? Because with how packed the West is, can we say that they should sell?
Hot take. I think the Suns are underrated.
Oh no! Oh no!
Dylan Brooks is a really good NBA player.
Underrated.
Dylan Brooks is a really good NBA player. He's going to be the connective tissue.
You have me,
Jalen Green and Devin Booker.
Oh, I don't know about that part of it.
You had me at Dylan Brooks.
You had me with Dylan Brooks, and then you lost me.
Don't you think every year there's always a team that goes full on sell mode?
If
and then
Phoenix
they
can turn Green into something better, they should not be in sell mode. So you know what?
Sure, yeah,
I'm with you, Al.
But I'm just saying, there's always like a team in every single league that is like, oh my gosh, they're so terrible. And then there's one team that surprises you, right? So one team that plays above and beyond their expectations. Rafael Devers got traded from the Boston Red Sox, and then they go on a 10-game winning streak, right? Like, you have those type of examples. And I think Phoenix, I'm not saying they are, but I think there's potential there in terms of like surprising people and being like a 500 team.
I hear you. So listen, the last team that comes to mind here, right? Because you talk about the Mavericks, the Nuggets, the Warriors, Rockets, Lakers, Clippers, Grizzlies, Wolves, none of them. Pelicans, we talked about. Thunder, no. Suns, Blazers, Kings, Spurs, Jazz. We've talked about these teams, right? In the East, here you have Atlanta, you have Boston. Keep a pin in that. Brooklyn, Charlotte, Chicago. Is Charlotte in sell mode? Should we say that they should just buy because they should sell, right? They should trade LaMelo. I think they should trade LaMelo. I think that's how I'm going to arrive at that take. I'm putting.
All right.
I'm putting Charlotte here.
Clarify something. To be in buy versus sell mode, if you have a top player that you're actually holding on to that's been at their peak and not coming off an injury like Embiid, when you got a Devin Booker or a Giannis or an Anthony Edwards and you've just fallen short and haven't been able to build the team around him, you're either just, if you're not selling that star player, you better be buying, right? Like, it comes down to, are you selling the star player or not?
I don't think the league views LaMelo as a star player. I think
I don't. Yes, I agree. I don't think he's in that tier.
Zion Williamson. I think if you talk to GMs, you get more LaMelo's closer to Zion than he is to Franz or Paolo takes than you'd expect. I think that's where things are at right now because LaMelo's availability has been a question, and these owners, man, these team governors, they want guys that can play.
They need Brandon Miller. They really need Brandon Miller to play because he is good and he is perfect for today's NBA 25, 26 NBA.
I'm selling LaMelo and building the team around that kid, man. LaMelo's so good. I think he's maligned because of who he is off the court. I think lots of adults, your guys' age, don't see through his zaniness the way you guys see through mine and understand I'm a good kid at heart, even if I'm a Gen Z idiot. I think people don't give him that same grace, right? And I think LaMelo gets maligned. That's a tongue twister for you. But anyway, I'm throwing Charlotte on this list. I
like that take, Kris. I like that take, Kris, regarding LaMelo. I think he is misunderstood by the older generation. And I think the fact that he's built his brand off the court the way he's built it should be applauded. I know I
see kids in the subway wearing LaFrance shoes, like more than I see kids wearing Jordans.
It's because
I'm being dead ass.
It's because it's the decision makers in this league, right? The owners, the front office, the GMs, they're all old, so they don't get it. They can't really relate to, what resonates with people and kids these days. So I'm actually on the side of saying I think LaMelo, if he's put in a system, again, we talk about good
Warriors
systems,
just should have drafted him.
Yeah,
Warriors just should have drafted him. Him or Halliburton, right? Yeah. So anyway, Charlotte, I'm gonna say should sell. Boston, are they in their own what? That's the last team for me that we have to decide on here. Once we decide on Boston, we're done, right? What is Boston, guys? What the hell? What are they doing? Anthony Simons looking like he's going to be a Celtic as of now. Like, this is a team to me that should be fine selling, but not to the ground. I just mean, like, if someone offers them surplus value at the deadline in a season with no Jason Tatum, no Drew Holiday, like, are you guys against Boston selling? Any thoughts?
Still the guys around Tatum and Brown. You get to see how good Brown truly is if he can be a number one, and he probably increases value here if you do want to trade him. So it's something you just monitor closely. I really don't think
by yourself for Boston.
I would say Boston is going to be better than people expect. I think.
Okay, so you wouldn't sell.
No, I would sell that value because I think they're going to play above expectations, and these players' values are going to be inflated, and then
trade guys like Simons trade away. All right, so Boston's on the list. We got Sacramento, Washington, Brooklyn, Dallas, Utah, New Orleans, Chicago, Toronto, Boston, and Charlotte on the list for category number 3. Numbers 2 and 1 are coming your way ASAP. Rhyming accidentally again. Look at me, man. Anyway, leave a thumbs up, subscribe. Hit the notification bell. You don't have to click on every notification, but at least you won't miss a show. You'll know when they come out. You can watch us on Spotify. You can listen to us on Apple. You can listen to us on YouTube. You can listen to us on Spotify or watch us. We're everywhere. We're everything, everywhere, all at once. Call us a 2024 blockbuster. We'll see you guys next time. Presented as always by Ball is Life. I'm KP saying peace out for Zak Noble and AC, the analytics capper. We will catch you guys.